Hey everyone, in this video I'll be giving you the ultimate guide to breeding in Palworld's 1.0 update. This is everything that you need to know to get the most out of breeding, make the strongest pals possible, get a ton of gold, as well as just make this as easy as possible. Because honestly, breeding is a little overwhelming at first, but it really doesn't have to be. With this guide, it'll help out. So we'll be talking about what pals you'd want to have at your base, because some of them do give additional benefits when they are at your base. We also have some that'll give a benefit when they're in your party, when you interact with the eggs, and I'll talk about all that in this video. But first, it is making the breeding itself, which requires you to reach level 19 and unlock the breeding farm here. Now, there are other things like tomato plantations and others which are important later on, but these do take up a lot of space. That's why I was able to build a tower, a base here with multiple floors, so we're able to house multiple of these. My sweet spot for these is around 4 breeding farms, so I'd recommend shooting for that number there, although you only need 1 or 2 really early on. The other thing you need alongside this is a cake. I would highly recommend setting up to make the vegetable cakes here, which gives you 2 eggs at a time, doubling your efficiency. Now the thing is, the basic cooking pot here is only capable of making regular cakes as well as the mushroom cakes. So once you get to level 39 or 49, you're able to create the electric kitchen here, which has access to the better vegetable cakes, which lets you get those 2 eggs at a time. This is an easier recipe as well because it requires flour, tomato, lettuce, and eggs, which are all easily made at your base. Honey is the only difficult thing, but even with the regular cake, it requires flour, berries, milk, and eggs. The easy way to do this is to create a ranch with bee guard, as they will drop honey and you can actually get a ton of honey really quickly and easily. So that would be the method I would recommend. However, you can also go over to the small settlement, which is just right here on the map, and make your way over. Now the thing is, you can catch these merchants and have them at your base, and I would highly recommend grabbing a pal taming merchant, which you can sell your pals to, and the wandering merchant here, because you can purchase from the wandering merchant eggs, milk, red berries, wheat, you name it, everything you need except for honey. That's why I mentioned the bee guards. So yeah, go ahead, toss yourself a pal sphere at them. Just be mindful that they do frown upon that. And then you can always bring them out at your base at any time to be able to use those items. It's really nice. But we could also set at a ranch at Chicopee and Mazarina to get yourself milk and eggs respectively. But Bee Guard is the one that is highly recommended because you cannot make honey any other way and you can't purchase it. So whatever method you may go with, you're going to want to have that honey. And again, eggs can be purchased, honey can be made, lettuce and tomato can be grown, and flour requires you to create wheat here, and then you need a mill, which will require a pal that has 1 suitability in water here, and with this you're able to create your own wheat or flour from wheat. So that is the final ingredient in making the cake. So you pretty much always want to have these going, but the nice thing is we can purchase this really easily. I'm going to show you guys the best gold farming method in the game so that you can literally just buy out all the items you need. Don't have to think much about anything. So we got the breeding farms, we got the cake. The next thing you need is pals to breed. Now, I will talk a bit about the best combinations a bit later on, because there is actually a lot of really good ones here. Like you can make a Solen by using Yormantide Ignis and Florokle, which can give you 80% damage boost on the player. Really good. And it's funny because you can get a Florokle by breeding a Yormantide and a Yormantide Ignis, and then if you breed a Florokle with the Solen that you make, then you get Eidrolon. So there's some pretty cool chains that you can do early on, but the thing is you need a male and female pal. Now this can be easily done if you're able to grab the surgery table, because with this you're actually able to change pals' genders. Now this will require a pal reverser, but they're not too difficult to grab. Another thing I do want to quickly mention is that you can add passives to your pals. I'll talk a bit about this a little bit later when we go into breeding things and passing them down, but if there are specific ones that you want to add to your pal, you can then add them by using this. Some really powerful ones for breeding, and for example, is the Philanthropist. Whenever you're assigned to a breeding farm, it increases the breeding speed by 100%. This is perfect for if you're trying to farm gold. But there's a few different ways that we can grab these. Now you can go back to the small outposts here to be able to grab the gender changers. You can also come over to the Fisherman's Point here, and if you're looking for the implants, you can get those from the arena here, or by going to either Fisherman's Point or the small settlement. I do have a guide on how to quickly farm bounty tokens, but here you're able to get things like the Muscle Head, which increases attack by 30%, which is huge. The Artisan, which will increase your work speed by 50%, and a bunch of other ones that are very good. Vanguard boosts the player damage by 10% for 5 pals with that. That's 50% player damage boost, which is huge. But here's where you grab the pal reversers, and you can also get the technology points from the manuals here. But yeah, pal reversers is going to be something you're going to grab often, because certain pals like Lylene, for example, typically are going to appear as female. And as mentioned, if you come to the arena here, you can chat and do the arena challenges, because it's going to give you a lot of really great rewards. because this is how you get Serenity, which reduces your cooldowns and your attacks, which is massive. Also the Runner, if you're looking for the fastest possible speed. Noble increases selling prices. Reload Master helps you with your speed, and you can also get Pal Reversers, the IV fruits, and different attack fruits as well here. And putting that all together, you can take the surgical table here and fine tune your pals to exactly what you want, because you can actually get some very useful passives. Now, another thing is the late game, you can use the Ancient Relic Recycler. And it is crazy good because whenever you go to use this, it's going to give you those very powerful passives like the Immortality, giving you lifesteal, making your pals pretty hard to take down. Idiosyncratic, which can buff up the player. Hearts the Unmovable King, Mastery of Fasting, World Tree Bounty, many others. So yeah, this is where you get the best possible passives, but you can also use the Ancient Relic Recycle to get the Pal Reversers, Kinship Fruit, and a lot of other things that are nice for breeding. And one pal that actually helps out quite a bit with this is to take a Yakumo here, because when you have Yakumo out fighting with you, you have a 30% chance of increasing a pal that is going to have the same passive. So you can put your passives onto Yakumo, which then gives you an increased chance of catching pals that'll have those same ones. So if you're looking to create a type of breeding farm and you want to cut down the work, Yakumo can be a very helpful pal. So once you've got your pals with the passives that you want on them, like for example, I have these two here as more of like a farm, like a breeding pal that I'd have at my base here, you're going to go ahead, bring them to your base, and then you're going to put a monitoring stand. So you're going to go with the fixed assignment management there with C, and this is going to bring up all the different things. So once you've built a breeding farm, you can assign them here. So you're going to want to put whatever pals that you want to ensure they're going to be breeding on this so you don't have any messed up eggs. And you can also assign your bee guards to the ranch here so you always get the honey. But you can see here, always have these posted and then leave the others free to roam around and do what they want to do, because yeah, then this way you're going to get the maximum possible eggs. And you can see there we got an insane amount of them really quickly. So once you have eggs, the next step is deciding if you want alphas or not. Now, Bronze Cherry and Bronze Cherry Aqua have different name partner skills. Bronze Cherry Aqua gives you a 55% chance of getting an alpha egg when you pick it up. Bronze Cherry is a 45% chance. These do stack since they are different pals. Even though it says does not stack, these stack together. This gives you 100% chance of grabbing an alpha pal if these are in your party, not at your base, but in the party whenever you pick up the egg. So be mindful that if you're doing this for like a breeding to end up butchering the pals, the alpha version of the pals do have different drops. Like if you're doing a Lylene Noct or a Lylene one, for example, to get yourself the technology books, the alpha version of that does not have those books. So just be mindful whenever you have these in your party. If you see a video on certain farms, like for example, Coralum, certain types of pals like the alpha Walaska does not get that drop. Another one that I would highly recommend, this is one that you can have, you don't need Bronze Cherry Aqua if you don't care about alphas, but Grintail here has a very powerful Glaring Cat's Eye. Whenever you pick up a pal egg, there's a 75% chance of getting one extra. So Vegetable Cake is making 2 eggs per time, and then when you have a Grintail in your party, when you pick that egg up, there's a chance that you're going to get 2 of them. This is at max condensed, which is important. I'll talk about condensing in a moment, but once you get the eggs that you want from the pals that you want, for example, like this setup here, we got a bunch of eggs, they're already popping out some more of them. So we got the enlarged eggs you can see there. So Bronze Cherry's magic is giving us that special effect. You're going to need a single either incubator. I like the large electric incubator, especially when you're in the late game. This is just gonna be the fastest possible one, but you're gonna need one of these here. Now, the thing is with the regular egg incubator, you do need to have a heat source for them to incubate the eggs faster. Now, it will reach out around 5-ish. You can cover 5 of them here. I like to just use a campfire as the lowest cost here. So you can literally just throw these here and then they're all going to get the effects. There's the Ancient Hatchery, but I'll get to that in a moment. So what we can do is throw them into this one here, and there's a handy set all eggs, which will automatically incubate them, and then collect all the eggs. And you saw here, that particular farm got us a ton of Noclums. Now, you can see some of them are getting passed down the different passives here. Now, there is a method to how this works. So, depending on the passives that the parents have, if you have a pal that you want to have 4 different passives on, it's going to have around a 10% chance to give you that, all of them on it. Now, there is a chance of mutations that can happen, but I have 3 of the 4 passives on this one, 3 of the 4 passives on this one, so got somewhat lucky with them. You have around a 10% chance of getting them perfect, all 4 passives, but there's also a chance for a mutation to occur. So it's going to roll for you to inherit the parent's passive skill. Now, there's around a 30 or 40% chance for them to get just 1 skill. There's a 25% chance roughly for them to get 2 skills, 12% for them to get 3 skills, and around 10% for them to get all 4 of them. This is something that's like RNG. That's why you're running a lot of different breeding farms at any given moment so that you have the highest chance of succeeding. Now, another really nice item is the Pal Tamer's glasses here, which lets you see a pal's IVs. Now, this becomes really important because you can then go in and inspect your pals, and you can see here we got 100%. Nice, good job. This one, not so much. So you can see if you got them to pass on. Now, there is a 30% chance of it being either the father, 30% chance from the mother, and a 40% chance for it to become mutated. Now, I'm using two pals that have theirs maxed out here at 100 each, which you can increase with IV fruits, and I also have a guide on how to farm those, but you can get lucky or you can get unlucky. This one didn't end up getting its attack stat. It only has a 9 there when both parents have 100, whereas this other one got lucky and got all 3 of them, but it only got 2 of the passive skills here. Now, this is something that is a numbers game. You're going to have a high chance of getting them if both parents have their stats maxed out, which can be attained pretty easily by using those the IV fruits. And you're guaranteed to get 3 of these if you fight the Moon Lord Terraria boss. So that's one of the recommendations I would make. But yeah, you can max out your stats with these, and I'd recommend doing that so that it's going to give you a greater chance of spreading down and getting the perfect pal stats here. Now, it's kind of similar, works similar to Yakumo. Yakumo, in an interesting way, will have a 30% chance for each of its passives to get passed on to the pal that you're catching, whereas whenever you're breeding, it is a percent-based chance where it's likely to get 1 of them, it's likely to get 2 of them, 40%, 25%, 12%, 10% again on all the different passives. It doesn't matter if one parent has 2 of them, the other parent has 2 of them, the desired result, it'll have a chance based on both parents. So yeah, if you have 2 parent pals that have perfect IVs and both have the passives that you want to add, it's around like a 1 in 10 chance you get the perfect pal that you're looking for, and you can keep breeding until you get the perfect IV possible. And once you get the pals that you want, the next step is checking if whatever partner skill you got here. So all of these here are just level 1. Now, if you want to increase this, we will have to build the Pal Condenser. Now, this is a really useful skill because it is going to give you the max possible one. So we can take our Inoculum here, and then we can basically go ahead with adding more into it. So if we go ahead here and add the rest of the Inoculums that we just bred, we are bringing it up to a 1-star. It's going to take 48 different pals for you to max this out, so it will take some time, but you can also use some of the rewards from the farms I showed to get yourself the star fruits, which will give you a total level without having to catch all these pals and condense them. So that's how you can max out their stats, their passive skills, and their partner skills, which will make them as strong as possible. The next thing is trust, which you get by just playing with the pals, but you can also get things called Kinship Peaches that is going to give you a whole level of trust here when you use it on a pal. So you can go ahead there. It's going to take their trust level up 1 whole slot, which does give them even better stats. So I'd highly recommend maxing out trust on them. The next is Awakening. Now, this will require you to craft the ancient workbench, so this is a late game thing, but you're going to require 50 of the particular gems. You can find these in the World Tree, and you're going to need World Tree Holy Water. This is a bit of a grind, but it's definitely worth doing, as it's going to allow you to max out your pals the best way possible. So again, it does require an ancient workbench, which is making it a late game option, but that's how to get your pals maxed out from breeding. Now let's talk about things that people really care about. Gold. Duma Guild here is really good because whenever you breed these together, you're going to be creating a bunch of mini ones here. Now, if you have the Bronze Cherry set up here, you get an alpha version of the Dumads, which just end up selling for a whole lot more. So for example, we're going to take our Duma Guild here, our farm. We're going to grab these. We're going to make these all a alpha because we have Bronze Cherry in our party. And then we're going to run it over to the egg incubator here, toss them all in, let it do its thing, collect them all, and we got ourselves a bunch of Dumads. Now, if you get farmhand on it, it'll end up making it sell for a bit more, but then once we have this done, so we're gonna take out our pal merchant here, you add them into your base. Now, what happens when you throw them into the base here is that you can then go ahead and sell off the Duma Guild. So going ahead here, he will run away and start working on tasks, but you can see that we get 40K a pop here. So these will end up fueling your farm because then you can purchase more cakes really easily. And this becomes just a surefire way to get yourself a ton of gold easily. But next I want to talk about the base setup and how you want to have your pals. So I like, again, having 2 B-guards is kind of essential. I also like to have a Dynamorph here because this is going to shorten the time that it takes to incubate eggs by 40%. This is also a pal that has gathering, transporting, and electric skills, so you can power your electric generators using this pal. Really good, and it's the fat bird, it's cute. We also have Dupe in here. This is more so just personal preference because I really like duping, but it has a kindling skill, it has handiwork, it has medicine, and it has transporting, so they just are a kind of general purpose pal on the base. I also have Ophidia here because this is our watering and planting pal, so it's great for just general creating food for the base and also making the cakes. I also have a base where I just do a lot of food production, use a guild chest to transport it over to my breeding bases, so that can be even another option if you don't want to do it this way. But the rest here, these are mostly just for breeding. I also have a Braloha here because this is going to increase the speed of the breeding farm by 50%. This does not stack with a new babysitter perk, so you can't have that passive on the same time you have Braloha here. So just use Braloha because they are also going to have planting, gathering, and a mining skill, although you don't really do mining on the setup like this. And the rest here are for just creating pals. So we have this here to make the Knocklimbs with Ophidia and Renjishi, Yormantide, Ignis, and Flaracle to make Solen. And again, you can make a Flaracle by combining Yormantide and Yormantide Ignis. And then we have Flaracle and Solen here to create Hydrolons, and then we have our Duma guilds that are gold farms. So you can create very powerful pals here. There are websites like palworld.gg that let you see a breeding calculator. If there's a specific pal that you want, check that one out and look for the two children pals that you need to make it, and then you can look up how to make those pals. You can create a lot of things before you even make it to the world tree, like Solen, who's a world tree exclusive. Again, you can make it with Yormantide and Flaracle. Now I have a few different videos on how to set up your possible base here. I like to have like the outpost looking view here where we have like the high quality beds, but we also have multiple floors here because these breeding ranches breeding farms take up a lot of space. I like to build a tower here. This is where we put all the beds, and it does allow us to have a staircase here, but we have on our base floor here, it is going to have 2 breeding farms because that's what was able to be created here. If you go with a more flat style base, you can do a lot more with it, but I wanted a little aesthetic look to it here with the tall base, but have most of the business going on up top here. You get the idea of how this is all assembled. And I do have a food setup here with wheat. I also have a guide on how you can stack multiple of these. Like I have like 5 different tomato growing places inside of each other, which makes this easier because your pals will just group this up and work on them a lot faster. So even though you see it looks like there's like only one here, you see it's glitching out because there's multiple built inside of it. So yeah, that's the way I like to set up my base, but personal preference comes into play here. It depends how you want to set up your possible bases, but that is the ultimate guide to breeding in Palworld's 1.0 update. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm usually pretty quick to get back to people on things, but yeah, this is the setup and the way to do breeding. It is a little bit more straightforward than you'd think, and it's a lot of fun. You can get some really powerful pals, and you can get some pals really early on. Again, check out palworld.gg to be able to find breeding setups and chains to make the pals that you want to make, as there's just so many to cover here. There's almost 300 pals in the game, so if there's a particular one that you want, there's probably a way to make it early on. But if this video is useful, hit the subscribe button below and check out my other Palworld content. I have some in the pinned comments to help out, and I hope you guys all have an incredible day. We'll catch you in the next one.